Rapid Real Talk. Welcome back, everybody. You know how we do it. We start with the warm up. I got a special guest in the house, Dr. Jemayne King. Jay, say hello to the audience.
Hey, how's everyone doing? And thank you for having me on.
Of course, thank you for being here. This is the warm up. Breathe in, breathe out. Let's clear our minds, open our hearts, open our ears. Hey. All right, all right. So, everybody, we just want to say thank you so much for being here. We have a special guest, Dr. Jemayne King. Dr. Jemayne King, is it okay if I call you Jay?
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that. So we have Jay, also known as Dr. Jemayne King, here on the show today. We want to actually give him some props about releasing this new book called The Big House on Flavian. And this was released November 11th, 2025. We're going to kind of get into what this book is about, kind of what inspired him to do this. But I really want to give Dr. Jemayne Lavar King his flowers. Kind of give a little synopsis of who he is and some of the accomplishments he's had. So I want to read the bio first. Is that okay, Jay?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, okay. So Dr. Jemayne Lavar King is a native of Franklin, Virginia, and he is a 2017 TEDx speaker finalist, a 2016 Marquise Who's Who honoree, and a member of Sigma Tau Delta and Delta Epsilon Iota, as well as Delta Alpha Phi academic honor societies. King is the creator of Virginia State University's Hip Hop Studies English minor and the world's first collegiate English courses dedicated to sneaker culture literature and identification within sneaker culture. Soul Food, this is his brand, and we're going to get him to talk more about that. And it goes into like digestible sneaker culture, the souls of Black folks, sneaker culture literature, and the big house on Flavian, which we're going to talk about today. Dr. King holds a Bachelor of Arts in English and News Media from Elizabeth City State University. Shout out ECSU. A Master of Arts in English Literature from Virginia State University, and a PhD in English Literary Criticism from Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Y'all, let's give him a hand and welcome him to the show. We are
Thank you.
so thankful to have you here. So grateful for you to join us today, Jay. So let's talk. The big house on Flavian. Tell me what got you inspired to write this book. Tell us a little bit about the book. Um, it's your world,
Well, listen, again, I'm humbled and gracious for being here. Thank you for having me on.
of course.
Regarding the Big House on Flavian. So, the Big House on Flavian is a collection of poetry inspired by the game, the greatest game of all time. And I know some people will argue that, but it's hard to, opinions are opinions. But in my most humble opinion, the greatest game of all time is right now Red Dead Redemption 2. So this book is inspired by Red Dead Redemption 2, book of poetry inspired by. And let me just say this. So when you mentioned my studies at Indiana University of Pennsylvania,
Hmm.
this game was released, November 2018.
Okay.
During that particular time, and I was at the latter stages of trying to get this degree thing over with, right?
Hmm.
And I played Red Dead Redemption One and Red Dead Redemption, which is a spiritual successor to Red Dead Revolver, which also is a pretty good game considering how old it is. So at that time, I thought Red Dead Redemption was the best game I played, and I played a bunch of them. But doing my PhD studies, I wasn't playing many video games. As a matter of fact, I'm going to keep it a buck with you, as they say.
Please.
There were times when I was waiting for my chair. It's almost like waiting for a text back from a date or
Hmm.
something, right?
Hmm.
So I'm turning this work in, and I'm sitting on my hands and I'm sitting on my thumbs, right, waiting for for a reply back to these corrections or to whatever I submitted at the time. So I would play like something that was non-committal, like WWE 2K17 or something like that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I would play that on Fridays when I'm just sitting there like bouncing myself off the walls. So when Red Dead Redemption 2 released, man, I wouldn't think. Look, I didn't even own the platform that it was on. Like, it was released on PS4, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've never owned a PS4. So um, years later, specifically the year of our Lord 2023, we're at the university. Even though I'm a 12-month employee, I'm working on my administrative duties during the summer,
Okay.
and I bought Red Dead Redemption 2 in 2021, but I just didn't play it. And I remember I said, you know what? I got 4 days before everybody else reports back to work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to run through this game in 4 days, which may be one of the biggest mistakes of my life. The other mistake I call the biggest mistake, I had a 1973 Chevelle that I just sold, got rid of. I got
Ooh,
it for
that's
next to
dunk
nothing.
status. That's dunk status, right?
Yeah, well, the body is close to. I mean, as big as those, right? But I bought it for nothing and just pretty much I had it crushed. Okay,
Wow. Okay.
but the whole point is those are the two biggest, and I feel pretty good about that. But anyway, I went through the game in 4 days. You're not supposed to do that.
Ooh.
You're not supposed to do that, and those 4 days changed my life. So anyway, that experience led to the experience of playing Red Dead Redemption 2. And I still play it. On it one, I haven't started any other additional playthroughs because the rumor is that in a month they're going to release a PS5 version, right?
Okay.
So the timing of the book is pretty good for that. But the whole point is that game inspired the Big House on Flavian.
And I love, let me tell you, so I'm also a gamer for those out there who may not know. And I love, actually, Jermaine, you're the one that put me on to Red Dead Redemption 2 because you specifically told me not to get one, but two.
Right.
And I'm so glad that you did because I instantly was addicted. Literally. And it you can just zone out. It's relatable in interesting ways, and it's therapeutic, from the hunting, the fishing, sometimes just riding the horse. It's set in a western times, and the main character's Arthur, and he has a camp of people, and he has a responsibility to the camp, and this thing goes real deep, very deep. And so let me ask you this, Jermaine. And I know you said those 4 days, and that's amazing to beat the game in 4 days. Like, that's some dedication right there. Tell me, what did those 4 days do for you to make you fall in love with this game?
So in those 4 days, I was treating it like it was work, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking like, okay, I want to be done with this by the time I report back to, by the time the semester starts. I'm not saying report back to work because I was working. Um, and I didn't know anything about. Of course, I knew. I don't want to spoil, but it's been since 2018 because I played Red Dead Redemption, and Arthur's not in Red Dead Redemption, so I know he has to pretty much be dealt with in some way, right? And of course,
Right.
we talk about the redemption arc. You can't do bad, right, and
Mm-hmm.
expect to live a good life, which pretty much is a quote from the game. So something's going to happen to the protagonist. What
Right.
I didn't know was what would and how would and the changes of the lives he would impact along the way,
Mm-hmm.
including his. So what really got me was the amount of things that are accurate to history, and there's because of the Grand Theft Auto universe, how they
Yeah.
interact with each other. So I'm picking up how, like, wait a minute, this is
Mm-hmm.
connected to like GTA 5 and yada yada. But things like
Mm-hmm.
women's suffrage, the advancement of
Yep.
colored people. Let's see what else. The fall of the South, the fall of the West.
Mm-hmm.
Some elements of American history, the satirical elements. So those things caused me to led me to fall in love with the game, and it's just done so well.
Yeah.
Without even getting into the art, without even getting into how well it's like a Lexus. It's pretty much this game. If I would compare it to a car, it would be like a Lexus LS 430.
Mm.
And that for enthusiasts, they know that that car is pretty much bulletproof, and that game is bulletproof. Like, how is a game so old outperforming? And I don't even want to. It's almost going to sound like hate, but beating or made better than games that are recently released. Mafia: The Old Country is a beautiful game, and I love it. And
Yep.
I went through that. It's a much shorter game, but I went through that in a weekend, and you kind of compare it to Red Dead Redemption 2 because the timing, they live in the same period, right? Different
Mm-hmm.
country, but the period. And I'm like, man, this game just came out, and it's an A, right? I would give it an A, but if that's an A, Red Dead Redemption 2 was higher than an A, right?
Correct.
So yeah, a game that came out in 2018 is still performing well in 2026, and that is crazy.
That
So
is.
yeah, those are the things that led me to fall in love with it.
That's deep. That's deep. And let me ask you this. So who for this book, right? Who would your audience be? And if they're not a gamer, right? Say if they're not gamers, what would you say that could attract them to at least being open to reading the book?
Okay, thank you for that because again, this game is legitimately for everyone. Specifically, if you are a reader, right? If you are a
Hmm.
lover of literature, this book is for you, and the game is for you as well. But this book is for you if you are a poetry aficionado.
Yes.
This book is for you. If you are interested in uh, the advancement of colored people, if you're interested in history and women's suffrage, this book is for you. So, for someone who's not a gamer, the way that I attempted to write it, it is for people who just love to read. It's for
Hmm.
people who love literature, people who are concerned with elements of American history. Also, got to mention that just because of who I am and what I do professionally, there are true to Red Dead Redemption 2 and to Rockstar, there are tons of Easter eggs included in this text. And also there's that infusion of hip hop culture and just hip hop.
Hmm.
So if we think of hip hop as being poetry, I purposely included references and styles to rap icons and rap songs. And I'll just say this, right?
Hmm.
Rapper Freeway, in one of his songs on that Jake One project, he mentioned that when he was younger, right,
Hmm.
he pretty much attempted to rap like Rakim, right,
Right.
and unapologetically, right, like just took his style. That's how much of an inspiration Rakim was to him and to a lot of other rappers, right?
Yes.
That in rhyme, the internal rhyme style. So for individuals who are fans of hip hop culture, people who are fans of boom bap rap, just hip hop in general, they may read the Big House on Flavian and have to pause on a few, like, wait, hold on, that looks familiar, or that sounds familiar, that flow, that title, that reference, and of course there are references to popular culture as well. It's the same way that the game in Rockstar, the same way they infuse references to popular culture. I've always done that in my works, and especially in my works of poetry. So in my collections of poetry. So there's some things that go outside of Red Dead Redemption 2 and
Mhm.
politically as well. But you got to you got to delve deep to find that, but it's in there.
I love this book because as I was reading the book of poems, and I appreciate you asking me to write the endorsement, or
Thank
the
you. No, I
endorsement.
appreciate you.
Yeah, that really meant a lot, and it was cool because it was something different than I have ever written before. I used to write poetry back in the day, but it challenged my brain in another way, to be able to accommodate your style of the book, and it's so cool. The Big House of Flavian is super creative, and it does have a lyrical poetic twist to it. But the cool thing about it is it's super relatable. And so a couple of the poems that you have in there, the Aurora of Safety, right?
Yeah.
Um, I love all the poems, and it's crazy, right, Jay? Because I can literally taste the game, if that makes sense. I can smell the stale whiskey. I can smell the saloons. I can just. like it just transports you back in time. You can really just escape reading these poems.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this work of art. And so, like in the poem "The Roar of Safety," like I'm a thinker, Jermaine. I think a lot, and my mind can take one thing and just go somewhere with it. So when I read that, I was like, you know what, that's pretty deep, because like relatability wise, it's like it's about like Arthur just being at the mountaintop. So to me, in that poem, how I took it was that was a mountaintop moment, and you were talking to him, saying, you know, enjoy it, be there, enjoy the peace, have the leisure activities that you do. It to me, it was like talking about self care and just being present in the moment. You know, and as a therapist and being a thinker, I always look for things like that and trends, and that's something in life. You know, Jermaine, I feel like we need to learn how to do is sit at when we get to a high place in life or certain accomplishments or achievements, to sit there and be present in it. And I feel like that aurora of safety, you were that's what you know, one of the themes or the things that you were driving home, because guess what, the valley moments are near.
Oh man, are they?
You know what I'm saying? The valley moments are there. And that's what you were saying. Like, you know, be present, enjoy this, you know, have fun, live your life. But guess what? As we know, we ride the wave of life. You know, sometimes we up for a little bit and then here comes something else. So could you speak on that, Jermaine? Or what was your thought process in writing in a roar of safety?
Well, you nailed that one. I'm sitting here, my mouth is agape, right? My mouth is agape. I'm like, well, this is the first time I've actually talked to anyone, like an extended conversation about anyone who has purchased or read or contributed to, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Big House on Flavian. So yeah, I would love to talk on it. So, chapter two. So
Mm-hmm.
there are players who cite chapter two as being the apex of the game.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that comes to because we're a fast paced society. We get things when we want it. If you want to watch an episode of a show, you can watch it on demand, right?
Right.
So chapter one of the game is essentially a tutorial one, right?
Correct.
And mentally, you're in a culture where it's pretty much snow, right? So you can't
Mm-hmm.
move how you want to move. You actually feel. You talk about the sensory. I felt the coldness of culture sitting in my den
Mm-hmm.
and it's in August, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I just felt like it was colder than it normally was. So chapter one kind of most people don't like the cold. Let's keep it real.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, in that chapter, people stop playing the game just because of chapter one. So chapter two, things brighten up. You can feel the warmth. Everybody's at their
Yep.
best mood except for like who? Now I think all the gang members that Swanson is probably he's out zoned out of his mind for various reasons, right?
Right.
But that particular poem reminds us, as you cleverly pulled out, it reminds us somewhat of a double entendre. So as far as the game goes, it's like, hey, don't run through this like I did. I was in
Mm-hmm.
chapter two for like maybe a good afternoon.
Mm.
I got like a few goals on those. Those missions are pretty easy, right?
Right, right.
I got a few. I was learning the game. I got a few goals on chapter two. That's how fast I went through it. But it reminds us that hey, if you take your time at chapter two, um, you're going to enjoy the game more. You get to see the beauty of like Valentine, if you can imagine a cow town being beautiful.
I know, right?
Yeah, you can explore New Austin and all this and that. But as far as life goes, you know, as you mentioned, there are valleys and peaks, and we don't know how long we're going to be on a peak.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if there's going to be a valley coming, or if, when it does, how long we're going to be there. So when things are good, take them for what they're worth.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy them, embrace them, do as much as you can for whom you can or while you can, and
That's
just
right.
move on from there. But not try to, if things are going well, thank God for them
Yeah,
and enjoy that moment. But don't, we shouldn't rush through anything. What's that song like? Take your time. You know what I mean? Like take your time.
that's right.
And in chapter two, definitely take your time.
That's right. That's right. That's good. And you know what? That was a moment. That was a reminder for me, because sometimes we can get so caught up in achieving and going and moving and grinding that we don't really take the time to see how far we've come and to see the blessings of life and even what we've come through. And that kind of just makes me think of, I have a saying, life makes sense backwards. And
Mm,
that's why it's so important to just sit while you even at the mountaintop
right.
and reflect, right, on how you got there. But also, it's important to sit in the valley and reflect because you need to reflect on where you were, and that helps you to kind of get out of the mindset of the negativity. So I really, really could relate, man, to that. And it was deep. It was deep. It was poetic. And it just took you somewhere. And another one, real quick, Jay, I want to talk about that I love, love, love as well. It was so hard, man. I had to really find a couple of them to narrow in on. The Fisher of Men, man. Oh my goodness. That Fisher of Men was something. Do you hear me? Like it was so deep. And it kind of what I got from that was like the fight between good and evil. And it's like sometimes we'll have one person on our shoulder, right? Like Arthur, he had options to do good things, right? And
Mhm.
then sometimes he had options to do some not so good things, and it's just like that fight, and goodness and then sin is right here, and sometimes I feel like with Arthur he may, or maybe this was my mindset now, because we get to control Arthur, right? So 'cause we
Right.
get decisions whether we're going to help somebody or not. But I'm gonna tell you, man, the cool thing about the Fisher of Men is it almost made me kind of think of myself in the game or just people in general. Like, do people do good things because they messed up so much? Or, so is it genuine? Or they, you know what I mean? Like, it could just, you could take it somewhere else if you choose to. And even like whether it's a minister or a mentor, we all have, a fight. It's a war within. And that's what I got out of the Fisher of Men. But here's the thing, though. Although it's a war within, that still makes you relatable and even more called to help other people because you're honest, you're transparent, and it's something we all struggle with. So can you kind of zoom in on that Fisher of Men, Jermaine, and like what was your inspiration for that, and kind of what how you saw it?
Sure. So let me start by saying again, I went through the game so fast that check this out. I didn't use Deadeye the entire because Deadeye is featured in Red Dead Redemption 1, right?
Right, right.
But I played that in 2010. Okay.
Okay.
So you have to go into Deadeye. So whenever there's shooting or something you have to aim, I was doing that raw, like pretty much using my regular video game skills to do that. So I went through the entire game without using Deadeye. That's how fast I went through the game. In the epilogue, I'm like, oh snap, I'm like, man, that would have been so much easier had I just
Right.
been able to slow things down. So I'm pretty good with the iron, as they say, when they're playing. I don't have to use Deadeye when you should use it. But let me say this. So also didn't know that there was an honor system. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So, for those who have played the game and for those who haven't, this isn't a spoiler alert, but just let me mention this because it ties into the poem. You mentioned that you control author, and your decisions have ramifications just like in real life.
Mm-hmm.
So I played the game how I live my life. And I know it's going to sound like I'm caping for myself or I'm a mark for myself, but hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
So the only negative thing that I did early on, you remember the character Jimmy Brooks?
Yes.
Okay. So I got to say, Jimmy Brooks is a witness for those who are haven't played the game. Jimmy Brooks is a witness to the fabia of the game, that massacre that happened in oh snap, what's the town where you can't go earlier on Blackwater.
That same.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so you're in Valentine, and Jimmy Brooks recognizes like, hey, I saw y'all in Blackwater, which is that could land everybody on the noose, right? If he goes and tells the authorities, that's going to kill everybody. Like everybody's going to jail and they're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
So you chase Jimmy Brooks to have a word with him, and this idiot ends up falling off a cliff and he's hanging, and you have the option to either let him drop or to
Mm-hmm.
pull him up. Now I'm playing this in real time the same way you were playing it in real time. And when I heard that he knew the gang is who they are and what they did,
Mm-hmm.
and I've already had an interaction with the police at that time in the game, and it was stressful. because I'm new. You know, when you're learning this stuff, and I'm just like, I'm not trying to run into the bounty hunters. If this dude goes and runs his mouth, so it gives you the option to drop him. Well, I dropped him.
Right. Right.
And but that was the only negative thing I did throughout the entire game. So whenever I had the opportunity to help someone, like, hey, I've been bitten by a snake, and
Yes.
or a woman broke her ankle, and you got to help her get to her ranch. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I found out later in the game, like, oh snap! After I beat it, I'm like, well, oh, these are some things that would happen if if you go out like the bad guy, and these are the things that happen if you go out the good time. But anyway, the Fisher of Men does speak to the choices we have in life, but it also speaks to the people who we follow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And their intentions. And sometimes we follow people blindly. If we take from of course, that the title has connections to religion, to Christianity, and to the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
has a question mark, right? A fisher of men, and that plays into Dutch because for the group, Dutch Vanderlyn. I'm not saying he's their Jesus, but essentially he's their Jesus, right?
Right. That's true.
And we see his leadership as the game progresses becomes more questionable, and there are people who religious leaders, right? Religious leaders
Mm-hmm.
who are questionable
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and sometimes experiences like Dutch's concussion,
Right.
you know, maybe changed his. He became weaker after that, but the whole point is a fisher of men. The choices we make in life, and who are we following, right?
That's right.
Remember, religion for a lot of people, they don't question. Like the church is untouchable, right? Like they don't question the church, or they don't question religion.
Mm-hmm.
But think of this: let's say we cleaned our entire house, right?
Right.
But we didn't clean the guest bathroom because there are no guests and no one uses it. So
Mm-hmm.
the whole house gets cleaned, but we leave that guest bathroom is untouched because no one ever goes in there. Are we to assume that it's going to just stay clean? What happens when the unexamined goes unexamined?
Pretty
So yeah,
deep.
yeah. So a fisher of men brings all of that, the game and the things I just mentioned, into question. Like, hey, how sound is the voice of reason?
Mm-hmm.
And when, if we question or examine the voice of reason, and what about the choices we make in that process?
That's good. That is so deep. That is so deep. But it's so true. And and I want to read this is how you close. I'm gonna give him a little taste, right?
Right.
This is how you close Fisher of Men. So ask yourself when he starts to speak, is it God you hear or a man too weak? Man, that right there, I had to sit with that. I literally had to sit with that because like that could be dissected in so many different ways, and it makes you think. It makes you even want to ask yourself, like to sit down with you and look at your actions, your thoughts, your perception, your decisions, and man, just the creativity, Jay, was outstanding, and it also made me think about like in respect to like religion and how Dutch had so much pressure. And you're right, he was like their Jesus. You know what I mean? He literally was, and they looked to him. And it's like he showed also being human. We're not robots.
Right.
Sometimes our personalities change from whether it's trauma, from the pressure, from stress. And those were things like real time things that we saw in the game itself, just like we deal with here. And then to put another spin on it, Arthur could also be like a Joshua.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, because he's trying to also lead them to the promised land, but he has a little bit more. I'm not gonna say necessarily of a moral compass, but he's a little bit more guarded and cautious at some points. You know what I mean? So you had some in the camp who were sabotaging because of their behaviors, getting drunk and wilding out and doing crazy stuff, and you had some who just stayed in camp and kind of laid low. So it just kind of just brought to life real life stuff. With the little lyrical hip hop elements to it. And I just had to give you your flowers and hats off to you for this work of art, Jay. I mean, this is amazing, amazing. Thank
Well,
you. We needed this in the world today.
well, again, that and I think you along with Dr. Tori Olson, who's the author of the history Red Dead's history. So he has a book. He's a history professor out in the University of Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
and he and I, like you and I, are gamers and fell in love with the game. So in the creation of this text, I was like, okay, I don't want to go out and be like, again, a bunch of endorsements, but I want endorsements from individuals who know the beauty of this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who know the impact, who enjoy it. And I reached out to both of you, and I'm blessed that the both of you agreed and supported the work with giving an endorsement. But as far as the game itself, the props you give me, I'm inspired by it the same way you're inspired by it, the same way that Dr. Olson inspired, Tori is inspired by it, and others who love the game. But man, if the art, if the muse, what is it? If the art wasn't created, the muse would not have visited me. So
That's
I,
good.
I take the props that you give me. I'm thankful for them. But man, I remember. I can tell you the day that it hit me, the muse visited, and
Mm,
it's like pretty much how rappers like someone like Jay-Z or Notorious B. I'm not comparing myself, just using this process.
I got you.
Jay-Z or Notorious B.I.G. They or Lil Wayne later on, who also adopted this style. They stopped writing their rhymes.
Mm.
So I remember the day I was driving when I got the idea for the title of the book, right? And it comes
Mm-hmm.
from when you're in Saint Denis and you're looking for Angelo Bronte, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or looking for who is this guy Angelo Bronte who has Jack, right? Who has kidnapped Jack, and
Right.
that street urchin. When you had that street urchin cornered, and you like, where is he? Like, where is he? He
Mm-hmm.
was like on Flavian, right? He doesn't say the big house on Flavian, but his house is a big house on Flavian,
Mm-hmm.
and that I just thought the big. I was thinking about Arthur's interaction with the street urchin, and he's like, "Oh, he lives on Flavian. Welcome to San Denis, Mister." Like, and I'm like, the big house on Flavian. I'm like, that would be a dope title for a book, right?
Yes.
And then as I'm thinking there, I literally start creating the poem while I'm driving the big house on Flavian. I'm like, okay, wait a minute.
Wow.
I'm thinking this will be done. This will be done by the time I get to my destination. And I got there, and I'm like, go take your phone out and write this down. And now, by the time I wrote down the notes, I was like, okay. I started writing. Started writing. I literally didn't tell anyone. I
Right.
think I may have mentioned it to a person. I can't remember if
Okay.
I did, but I started writing it in secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I told the publisher when I was done, I'm like, hey, I got this concept, I got this, blah 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 blah, and they were ready to go with it. So anyway, the props you give to me, the muse is Take Two, Rockstar, and I'm thankful
Mm-hmm.
for this work of art because it allowed me to create subsequent works. So I'm appreciative.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Jermaine, tell me what, as far as the gaming experience, right? Just in general, why do you play?
Oh, okay. So and just to be, so that changes over time. Like so, as I mentioned earlier, when I was writing a dissertation and waiting for feedback, I would dust off the at that time PS3 because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't buy a PS4. I just skipped that whole generation. I would play when I was pretty much expecting, like waiting on something. Right? I need something
Okay.
to occupy my mind.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now before that, man, because we're talking about like almost a decade of not really playing. So before that, I would play during downtime, right? Like I got this time I need to waste. So, I would play then.
Mm-hmm.
Now, currently, I play as in the same way I would work out physically.
Mm-hmm.
I play to work out my mind. The same. Some people would read, and
Gotcha.
reading is fundamental and cool and great, but I need a little bit more than that sometimes because a lot of these games, Red Dead Redemption 2, for example, includes so much literature within
Mm-hmm.
the game. You can literally read books while in the game, right? So for me, it keeps me sharp, makes me quicker in some respects, and it's also enjoyable. So one part enjoyment currently, one part enjoyment, and second part of mental exercise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you
Absolutely.
play games like RDR2 or like the God of War series, or
Mm-hmm.
even like the Spider-Man. Those puzzles, there's so many puzzles in the game. I'm like, man, I got to figure out another maze, and I got
Right.
to eat dinner. Like I'm playing. I'm like, okay, I need to figure this out before I go eat or before I take a bath. Like all these type of things. So it keeps you mentally sharp. So I play now one part enjoyment and another part of a mental exercise.
That's pretty cool. And it's cool because like, everybody has their own different reasons, right? So like for me, I've always played PlayStation from when I was a girl, and for me, I realized that it was therapeutic because I could turn my brain off. So I would do it, especially when I got to college. Not at Morgan State because I was undergrad then, so I didn't have a PlayStation in my room. Actually, I didn't want one because I wanted to focus on my studies,
Right.
and I know me. So when I did my first masters, to study for exams, I would take a break and play the game because it allowed me to separate myself and kind of just zone out doing something else and giving my brain a break. It's like you think differently. It's a different type of thinking, and that's kind of what drew me in. And I've always been a PlayStation girl, and it was cool to hear you say it was interesting about the options in RDR2 to be, help out or not. And I found myself, Jay, actually, I would do both. So yeah, I would help out sometimes. But it's almost like I love living having the alter ego to
Mm.
where I could just, I don't have to think, I don't have to do anything right, I don't have to cross T's and dot I's. I could just go in and just be wreak havoc if I chose to, and I was all right with the consequences. So it was pretty cool because that's so different from my personality, from every day, and that's a part of it that I love. So it's pretty cool to hear different reasons.
Well, you mentioned the part of having to pretty much go being an outlaw, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wearing the black hat. There are times where the game actually rewards you for doing that. For
Yep.
example, that racist guy that's on the street in in Saint Denis.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if a lot of players realize this. He's on the street talk kicking that racism ish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a cop is standing right, like there's a cop literally standing right next to him. In Saint Denis, if you step on a chicken, you are wanted. The cops are coming
Right.
for you, and because it's
Yep.
such a big city, Saint Denis is what New Orleans, right?
Correct.
So if you commit a crime in Saint Denis, that's your A. That's the
Absolutely.
they're coming for you, and they're coming in droves. I remember, what is it, eugenics? Like so the guy spitting that racism stuff, and I pretty much stole on him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the cop just stood there, just like nothing happened. And I'm like, oh snap! Like you don't get in trouble for this dude because the game is telling you this guy is a crap. But let me tell you, and you may have experienced this. So early on, playing the game is at night. I think the first encounter was somewhere near Valentine because you're close to where your camp is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm riding, and it's at night in my house too. So I'm pretty much riding this horse at night, and I hear these voices to the left of me, and I'm like, "What's going on over there?" I see the fire, so I get off the horse and I'm like being inquisitive, like, "What's going on over here?" Because clearly there's something over here I'm supposed to see.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you something. Got a little closer in the bushes, and I see it's the KKK.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
And I just remember I was like, so there. Listen, you talk about wrecking havoc. I didn't even think. I didn't even stop to hear.
Yep.
You're supposed to stop and listen to what they're saying because they're pretty much being Keystone Cop idiots, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just remember I heard two words and I knew it was them, and I started dumping. Right.
Yes,
Luckily, I
I did
had
the
the
same
rifle.
thing.
Yeah. And I started dumping. And no Deadeye. Remember, I told you I didn't know how to use Deadeye yet. So I'm hitting them off my just talent, just from playing video games in general. And there was one left, and he started running, and I was like, "Oh word!" I whistled for that horse. He was. I forgot which direction he was running, but I whistled for the horse. The horse came, and because of course I didn't want to run him down. I wanted to run him down with the horse, and that's what I did. I trampled him with the horse, and then got off and finished him as well. And of course, there are future run-ins with the KKK. I think it's two more.
Yep.
But the whole
Mm-hmm.
point was, you talk about like reckon. I didn't even question.
Yes.
I didn't hear what they had to say. I
Mhm.
heard once I knew it was them, and I started dumping. And then you get an honor boost for that.
Yes.
So yeah, there are times in the game when you talk about like, hey, you reckless abandon, ruthless aggression. The game in certain circumstances will reward you for that. But I will say this for anyone listening: do not ride your horse full speed through the hood part of
Yes.
Saint Denis, because you're going to end up running over somebody's livestock, and they're
Yep.
going to send about 5 cops from you, and they're really right there. So, yeah, the choices you make, and I don't blame you, because it is therapeutic, it is fun. There are a couple times when, let me just say this, um, you make a mistake or something, like you run into somebody. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
I was riding, and my horse knocked a dude over,
Yep. I did that a few times.
and there's a witness to it, and
Mm-hmm.
the witness is about to run and tell the cops that you bumped into. I'm like, oh no, nah, dog. Like, listen, I can't.
Not
Like,
today, buddy.
yeah, I like either. And I didn't at that time. I didn't realize that you could threaten them or coerce them to chill out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking it's like Jimmy Brooks, right? Like,
Right.
hey, you better go tell the cops about this. I'm gonna make sure you don't. But other than that, those instances, I was pretty much living the white hat cowboy life. But the fact that the game lets you live how you want to live is
Yes.
just part of the beauty of the narrative arc of Red Dead Redemption 2.
So true. So true. And y'all please get this book. This is an amazing read. This is a classic. And can you tell everybody, Jay, where can this book be purchased and what platforms or whatever is it on?
Absolutely. So primarily, I mentioned that signed copies of the hardcover and the softcover can be purchased from soulfoodbrand.com, JemayneLavarKing.com. And let me mention that for individuals who purchase the hardcover from soulfoodbrand.com, you
Mm-hmm.
receive things that you can't get anywhere else. So the cigarette cards, the 19th century cigarette cards that are featured throughout the game,
Mm-hmm.
the hardcover comes with the cigarette cards that I've made cigarette cards that deal with 3 different stages of my life. So to get those, of
Cool.
course, any book purchased from Soul Food Brand, hard or soft, come with the bookmarks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think, is there anything else? They're signed, so they're signed from me. But anywhere fine books are purchased, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, pretty much any bookseller, you can buy the book from wherever you buy your books. But if individuals buy directly, whether it be the hardcover or softcover,
Mm-hmm.
they all come signed from soulfoodbrand.com, JemayneLavarKing.com. And I have one, two, three book signings coming up. The first is February 19th, sponsored by Follett Higher Education at the bookstore at Virginia State University. So
Ooh.
on February 19th from 11 to 1, if individuals
Okay.
come out, you get a chance to meet me and get their book signed in store. And also in the future, there's one in March at Second and Charles, and there's one in
Okay.
April at Barnes and Noble at Virginia Center Commons. So again, wherever fine books are sold, but if you get it from soulfoodbrand.com, JemayneLavarKing.com, hardcover comes with cigarette cards and the signature, and the soft cover also comes with the signature as well.
That's good stuff. I got my copy, y'all. So please, 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 please support Jermaine. Please, let's show him some love for this work of art. And lastly, Jermaine, before we get off the air, Soul Food Brand. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So Soul Food Brand pretty much encompasses my work professionally. There's the apparel. So Soul Food is a lifestyle apparel company that features licensed NCAA apparel and just clothing. The company itself is inspired by sneaker culture. It's one of the children of the text Soul Food digestible sneaker culture. But Soul Food Brand is essentially everything that I do, whether it be my publications, whether it be my speaking engagements, is a company that produces clothing. If you think Ralph Lauren, if you think of, Starter or Chalkline or Proline back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
those entities inspired Soul Food. So again, Soul Food, lifestyle apparel, and also licensed NCAA apparel. And let me mention this as well. So I got to say this. You mentioned you're an alumna of Morgan State University,
Yes, that's
and,
correct.
and a lot of individuals, wherever they attended, matriculated, graduated from school, there's a certain amount of pride that an alum has for for their institution.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of individuals who are producing essentially non-licensed apparel.
Mm.
The common term is bootleg, right?
Uh-huh.
Bootleg
Mm-hmm.
apparel. And I want individuals that can hear the sound of our voices to think of this. You may come across a garment that looks like, oh, I want to wear that. And cool, people spend their money how they spend their money.
Mm-hmm.
But every time someone purchases NCAA inspired apparel that's not licensed, you're literally
Mm-hmm.
taking money from your university.
Oh
And if
wow.
you love her that much, would you steal from her? So
That's deep.
it's the whole point. If you love or him, right? If you love somebody,
Mm.
would you steal from the person you love? So whenever someone goes out and buys apparel, make sure that it has that hologram if it's NCAA, because if not, you don't know who's making that stuff and who's ganking you or your school. So again, um,
That's
for
deep.
for entities that are licensed, the schools get paid for that. And if you wanted to send someone to Morgan State University,
Mm-hmm.
Morgan State would have to be there first for you to send them there. And one of the easiest
Right.
ways we can support our institutions, when you go out and buy apparel, make sure that it's official.
That's right.
So anyway, the whole point is get off that high horse. Is that Soul Food brand not only makes licensed apparel, but it makes lifestyle apparel too. But nothing's out here fugazi, and this is not a knock on anyone unless you're stealing from a university. And if you are, eventually, like Arthur Morgan, you don't get here you go. You don't get to do bad things and live a good life.
You're right about that one.
Yeah.
You are
So
right about that. Let's support our schools. Let's support our HBCUs. Let's support Dr. Jemayne Lavar King and his greatness, y'all. We just want to say thank you, and we're honored to have you on the show. Jermaine, any last words before we get up out of here?
well, last words again. I humbly and graciously thank you for having me on your platform. I thank you also for endorsing and supporting this thing of ours, right? Like, speaking of mafioso, like this thing of ours, this love for this game, this love for literature. So thank you for that. And for those who are listening, you know, what can you do today to make somebody else's tomorrow a reality? So just something to ponder.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Dr. Jemayne Lavar King. Y'all go out and support, get the book, check out Soul Food Brands. And until next time, peace.
Peace.
Hey, that right there.